Hey everybody, Mike with Enviroscape LA. I'm here in the backyard. This is Hermosa Beach, California, and I'm going to talk to you about how you can defy the drought, how you cannot participate, you can choose not to participate in the drought. You can be part of the solution rather than the problem. Now this yard here was actually a yard with a big tree, and it had grass in it, and it had overhead sprinklers that just sprayed. In fact, here's an example of the type of sprinkler that it had, little rotor head here. And these were okay in their day. We were using it back in the 70s and 80s, but they're just not appropriate for now. Back in the 70s and 80s in California landscaping, we used to think that there was plentiful water. As long as you turn the spigot on, you're always going to have water. And so why save water? That was the general consensus. Well, little do most people realize that water comes to Southern California at a very, very great cost. Did you know that water comes to California over mountains? That's right, the Tehachapi Mountains. It actually travels hundreds of miles at a huge cost, because how does it come? It actually travels through pipes that are, the water's flowing with big giant pumps, and those pumps consume about 20% of the electricity here in Southern California. So it's really bad, or I should say all of California. So it's really bad. It's a huge expense, cost-wise and electricity-wise, energy-wise. So whatever we can do to conserve water, we're doing the right thing. It should just be it should have been part of our lifestyle to begin with, but it's not too late to start now for future generations. So anyway, here's a backyard in Hermosa Beach, typical backyard. This used to be lawn. So what we're doing is we took out the old lawn and we're going to put new lawn in. Now, it doesn't make much sense, but I'll tell you why. Number one, the lawn that we're going to replace it with is a native lawn. Right off the bat, it'll cut off over 50% water use over a normal lawn. And then how we are irrigating it is going to be different and unique. Did you know that there's something called drip irrigation? Most people have at least heard of it, but what drip irrigation is, it's this tubing that actually comes, you can see there, this is the Rainbird copper shell technology. It actually comes at 0.6 gallon per hour, a little more than half gallon per hour out of each of these holes. Now each of these holes, so it'll come out, say, for 30, 45 minutes, and then it just capillary action pulls it through the soil. So Rainbird has figured out that if you want to do grass, you put these in about every 12 inches. You put these into the ground. You put it about 2-3 inches under the ground. Now if you want to see an example of it, come on over here and follow me. Since this is a really small job, we're not putting on what we call a header, but we've already made the little trenches, so to speak. I would suggest not hand digging it unless you really had to. We have this little machine, it's called the Trench Master, and it makes just the right size hole so that you can lay the drip irrigation in. And then we staple it in. There's staples right here. And then once we put it in, there's an end line right here that we're gonna cut here. We're gonna put a T, we're gonna put it in. In fact, we can see an example of them, how they're already done here. We put a cross the staples right here, and then we left a T here because we're going to pull this line over here and just finish this off. So this whole area here is going to be drip irrigation, but it's going to be native lawn with drip irrigation. It's an amazing thing. Now, a few things that you need to know about drip irrigation if you're thinking of doing it, especially if you're going to do grass. Number one, you got to start out with the right valve. So these are the Rainbird valves. This is the filter. This filter, it unscrews, comes off. You can see there's debris in there. You can wash it off with a hose and then put it back on, and you're good to go. And then there's the pressure regulator is built inside there. Now, here's another interesting thing too. If you're doing the Rainbird copper shell technology, you want to make sure that you put an air relief valve in. Drip irrigation it's almost like it's made of plastic. It's a recycled plastic. However, it's like a big balloon. If you keep blowing on a balloon, it gets bigger and bigger. Eventually, it's going to pop. Well, the same thing will happen with drip irrigation. under the ground, it gets filled with air when it's not working. Then when the water pressure turns on, it's at a high velocity, and so everything, just for a split second, it puffs up just when it starts. But if you do that a few thousand times, you're going to weaken the joints. So we have something here called an air relief valve, and there's not much to look at, but I just wanted to show you. That's the air relief valve. You never need to maintain that. You never need to touch it. You just need to install it, though, to make sure that you're going to get the your system's going to last basically forever. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's not going to, your system, if it ever fails someday, it's not going to be because of that. Maybe because well, we really haven't had a failure with it yet. But you know what, I can imagine if you I'm trying to think of what. I love drip irrigation. I mean, I just think it's one of the solutions. I can't really see any downsides to it. But in any event, you want to make sure to use that. And also, wherever you're installing, you want to make sure you use a clean out. And clean outs are, we put them in little valve boxes. It's at the end of the line. You pull it out once a year, turn the valve on, flush out any impurities that might pass through the filter, and then you put it back in and you're good for the next year. And then if you wanted to really be fancy, you can do a fertigation unit. That's a little 2.5 gallon tube that you pour liquid fertilizer into, and then every time it waters with drip irrigation, it sucks out a little bit of fertilizer, throws it into the landscape. It's amazing. I challenge you, ask your gardener, when's the last time you fertilized my lawn? When's the last time you fertilized my plants? Wouldn't even know. So, and grass does like some fertilizer, so just put that out right now. So fertigation unit is just fabulous. Anyway, these are tips and ideas of how you can choose to defy the drought and make a difference. Mike with Enviroscape LA signing off. When you think sustainability, think Enviroscape LA.